Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your first day with the radicals and expressions and rational exponents, and now we're going to do rational exponents, radical expressions and rational exponents, section 8.6, day 2. And we're going to do this again. We're going to talk about our objectives. Our objective is to rewrite radical expressions with rational exponents. We do have one vocab word today, I believe. There we are. That one vocab word is rational exponents. If you remember back from the beginning of the year, rational was a number that either terminated or repeated. And another way to think about a rational number is as an exponent. It's an exponent that can be written as a over b, or a divided by b, where a and b are both integers and b is not equal to 0. There's an example there, 5 to the 1/2 power. All right, so we're going to look at these. We have negative 32 to the 3/5. We're going to write it in radical form and we're going to simplify it. What you need to know is this is the power, the 3 is the power. Let me try that again. Let's see if we can highlight it. The 3 is the power. Oops. The 3 is the power and the 5 is the root. Now there are two ways to do these. One way is to think of the power first and then do the root, or the other way is to do the root first and then do the power. Okay, so we're going to look at it with evaluating the root first. So this says the 5th root of negative 32. Well, what is the 5th root of negative 32? In other words, what times itself 5 times gives me negative 32? We can either break it down. We can say 32 is 16 times 2. 16 is 4 times 4. And each of those 4s can be broken down into 2 times 2. And 2 times 2. Now, this is the 5th root of negative 32. So one of these has to be negative here. We'll actually talk about that negative sign at the end. So now we're doing the 5th root. And so it says we need a group of 5. Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what is the 5th root of negative 32? It's actually negative 2. And then we need to cube that. Well, what is negative 2 cubed? That's negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Negative 2 times negative 2 would be positive 4, times a negative 2 would be a negative 8. And so that would be our answer. Now, we still have this is our power and this is our roots. We can take negative 32 to the 3rd power first. Okay? So negative 32 to the 3rd power. I'm going to have to check that out on my calculator. I don't know that off the top of my head. But we're going to do 32 to the 3rd power. That's 32,768. So I now have the 5th root of a negative 32,768. Now, I'm not going to go through the process of breaking that down because that's a really big number. I'm going to rely on my calculator to help me. If I put into my calculator the 5th root of negative 32,768, the answer gives me negative 8, which is exactly what we got over here. Either way works, but what you need to understand is the 3 is the power and the 5 is the root. It doesn't matter which one you do first, you just need to do both of them. Okay. So now we're going to write this expression, 64 to the 1/3 power, in radical form and simplify it. So the 1 is my power and the 3 is my root. So to write this, I'm going to write my root, and since the 3 is on the bottom there, it's my root. So it's the cube root of 64. Okay, so if I need to, I can break 64 down into 16 times 4. And I can break that 16 down into 4 times 4. And since I'm looking for the 3rd root, I need a group of 3. And so the 3rd root of 64, the cube root of 64, is 4. All right, so now this one has an improper fraction, but that's okay. We have 4 to the 5 halves. Again, this is 4 to the 5th power, and this is our root, square root. So I'm going to write my radical sign. Now, we don't always write this out here. So now I've got 4, and I'm going to think of it like this, to the 5th power, because I know what the square root of 4 is. The square root of 4 is 2, and that's to the 5th power. 2 to the 5th power says 2 times itself 5 times. That is 32. That would be my answer, simplified. All right, I want you to try this one. 625 to the 3/4 power. Think about what you would do with that. Which one's the power, which one's the root? Pause it, try it on your own, and let's see how you did. Okay, so this is 625 third to the 3/4 power. I can either write that as the 4th root, because whatever's on the bottom is my root, the 4th root of 625, and then I can cube that answer, or I can say that is 625 cubed and take the 4th root of that. Now, since I happen to know that the 4th root of 625 is actually 5, because I can break this down into 25 times 25, and I can break that down into 5 times 5 and 5 times 5, I'm going to work with this one, because the 4th root of 625 is 5 cubed. 5 cubed is 125, and that's our answer. Now, if you did this one, if you took 625 to the 3rd power, you would get a number, and then if you took the 4th root of it, that 4th root of that number would be 125. Let's try another one. Okay. 8th root of 13 to the 4th power. Now we're going to do this one, we're the opposite. We're going to write this in exponential form, okay, with a radical exponent. This is my power, this is my root. So that says 13 to the 4/8 power. I can simplify 4/8 though. That is 13 to the 1/2 power. Now, special thing about 1/2, the 1/2 power, is the same thing as the square root, because it says 13 to the 1st power and the square root. We want this, but I want to make sure you understand that. Would you try this one for me? Okay, remember this is our power and this is our root. So this is 13 to the 15 over 5. Well, 15 can be divided by 5, can't it? So that's 13 cubed. Now, I don't know what 13 cubed is off the top of my head, so I'm going to borrow and use my calculator, and I'm going to take 13 to the 3rd power. 13 to the 3rd power is 2,197, and that's our answer, 2,197. So you can go either way, depending on what you're doing with these. Okay, now remember yesterday we had the product property and we had the quotient property, and the same rules apply here. We can do the same thing. We're going to look at this first one here together, and then you're going to do a couple of these on your own. All right, we have 7 to the 7/9 and 7 to the 11/9. If we have 7 to the 7/9 times 7 to the 11/9, what do we do when we are multiplying like bases? We add their exponents. All right, so this is 7 to the 7/9. Pen is not wanting to cooperate here. Let me try that again. 7 to the 7/9 plus 11/9. That's a 9, and that's supposed to be a 9. Let's see if I can fix that any better. Here we go. Come on. You all know how much I love my technology and how sometimes it doesn't quite work for me, doesn't it? Okay, so now we have the 7 to the 7/9 plus 11/9, and this is all that power here. Whoa, what did we do here? All right, so let's go back and grab our pen. Okay, so we have 7 to the 7 ninths plus 11 ninths. Now that may look a little misleading. That 7 ninths plus 11 ninths is all the power there. I have the same exponents, I have the same denominator, so I can just add those. So that becomes 7. 7 plus 11 is 18. And remember, when we add exponents, when we add fractions, that's what that's called. When we add fractions, not sure why this is not wanting to work for me. Let's see what we can do to fix that. Seven plus 11 is 18. It's not wanting to do an 8 for me very well. So 18 ninths. But 18 can be divided by 9. So that is 7 to the second power, because 18 divided by 9 is 2. 7 squared is 49. And that is our answer. All right. Would you try this one right down here for me? You have 36 to the 3/8 times 36 to the 1/8. Pause it. Come back and see how you did. All right. Again, when we're multiplying like bases, we add their exponents. So that becomes 36 to the 3/8 plus 1/8. Well, 3/8 plus 1/8, let's see if I can write this here. 3/8 plus 1/8. There, my 8's working a little bit better. 3/8 plus 1/8. I can add those two together. That equals 36 to the 4/8. But 36 to the 4/8 is the same thing as 36 to the 1/2, because I can simplify 4/8 to 1/2. But remember, from just above, we said that 36 to the 1/8, something to the 1/2 power, that says it's to the, 36 to the 1/2 power. This is my power, this is my root. That says that's the square root of 36. But what is the square root of 36? 6. And so that's our answer. All right, now we're going to go back here and we're going to look at this one. What's different about this one than those last two? That's right, it's division. And because it's division, what do we do with our exponents? We subtract. And so we now have 16 to the 3/4 minus 5/4. Okay. So that becomes 16 to the negative 2/4. But I can simplify that. So that is 16 to the negative 1/2. Now we already talked about what 1/2 is. That's the square root of 16. But what does that negative mean for us to do? That's right, we have to put it in the denominator. So that becomes 1 over 16 to the 1/2 power, which is 1 over the square root of 16. But we know what the square root of 16 is. That's 4. So this is 1/4. Okay. Today's lesson was a lot shorter. There's some good information here, and there's lots of things that we can practice tomorrow. So tomorrow, when you come to class, I want to see those examples that we did together, and I want to see how you did on your examples. I want you to make sure you summarize what you've learned. I want you to write at least one question you have about this lesson. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a good night, guys.